All right, let's dive into something that's, well, the absolute bedrock of any credible study, the research design. It's the secret ingredient, the thing that separates a real discovery from just a wild guess. So, how does it all work?
So let me start by asking you a question. What do you think a massive gleaming skyscraper and a world-changing scientific breakthrough actually have in common? I mean, they seem totally different, right? One's built with steel and glass, the other is built with data and ideas.
The answer? They both need a blueprint. It's as simple as that. You'd never, ever start building a skyscraper by just stacking bricks at random. And you can't stumble upon a real discovery by just collecting data aimlessly. You gotta have a solid, detailed plan before you do anything.
And that, right there, is exactly what a research design is. Seriously, think of it as the architectural drawing for your entire investigation. It's this comprehensive plan that guides every single step of the way, making sure that the final structure, your conclusion, is sound, sturdy, and something you can actually rely on.
So, if it's a blueprint, what exactly goes into it? Well, any good research design has to provide really clear answers to a set of 10 fundamental questions. Let's walk through them.
Okay, these first 5 questions, they set up the entire foundation. This is the what, the why, and the where. You have to pin down exactly what you're studying and why it even matters. Then you got to figure out what kind of data you're going to need and, where on earth you're going to find it. If you get these wrong, the whole project is basically built on quicksand from the get-go.
And the next 5 questions? This is where we get into the nitty-gritty, the how of it all. This is where the real methodology starts to take shape. We have to define the time frame, pick our exact sample group, and choose our data collection techniques. And this is so crucial. We have to plan out how we're going to analyze everything we find. This is what turns a cool idea into a rigorous, repeatable process.
Okay, so we know the questions the blueprint has to answer. Now let's look at the 4 major structural components that every research design is built from. You can think of these as the main sections of that architectural plan.
So here they are, the 4 core components. We've got sampling, observational, statistical, and operational design. Each one plays a totally unique and absolutely critical role in making sure the whole study holds together. So let's break them down one by one. First up is the sampling design. This piece answers that huge question, who or what are we actually studying? I mean, you can't survey every single person on the planet, right? So you have to choose a sample that represents the bigger group. This part of the blueprint spells out exactly how you'll pick that group to make sure your findings are actually meaningful. Next, we have the observational design. This is all about the how and where of your data collection. Are you going to be doing interviews in a quiet, controlled lab? Or maybe observing behavior out in a crowded public square? This component lays out the exact conditions so that the data you collect is consistent and, really importantly, unbiased.
Then we get to the statistical design. This is like the mathematical engine of your study. It does 2 key things. First, it tells you how big your sample needs to be to get a reliable result. And second, it lays out which statistical tools and tests you're going to use to analyze all that data and find patterns that actually mean something.
And finally, there's the operational design. You should think of this as the logistical master plan. It's where all the other pieces, the sampling, the observation, the stats, it's where they all come together in the real world. This covers all the step-by-step procedures, the timeline, the budget, all the practical details that turn a bunch of plans into a real, functioning research project.
All right, that was a lot of theory, so let's make this feel a bit more concrete. What does this blueprint actually look like when it's put into practice for a real study?
Let's take a look at a pretty straightforward example, a study on the impact of online learning on student performance. See how it lines up. The sample, that's our sampling design, is 100 college students. The method, our observational design, is a questionnaire survey. And the analysis, our statistical design, is going to use a software package called Jamovi. It's a simple, but it's a complete blueprint. It guides the entire study from start to finish.
And that really brings us to the most important takeaway of all, which is captured perfectly by this idea. Without a research design, you're not conducting a study. You're just guessing. A good design is that crucial line in the sand between actual evidence and just an opinion, between real science and pure speculation.
So I'll leave you with this thought. The next time you read a headline about some amazing new study or a shocking discovery, just take a second to be a little critical. Ask yourself, what was their blueprint? Who did they actually study? How did they get their data? Because honestly, understanding the design is the very first step to truly understanding the discovery itself. Thanks for tuning in.